What's up, everybody? And today we're doing something we've not done for quite some time. We're going to watch a MrBallen video. When I first reacted to MrBallen on YouTube, I think he was at less than 1 million subscribers. And now he's at 10.6 million. He's got books, he's got podcasts, I think he's got a TV show now. Like, it is insane, and rightly so. He is one of the best storytellers on YouTube. There'll be a link down below to the video we're going to watch. It's called A Forest So Evil, It's Illegal to Enter. I will leave a link down below to the original video. Go over there, give it some love if you haven't already. Listen, it's not often you find people online that have the same interests as me. These ex-military, and I love the paranormal, weird, mysterious, and that Venn diagram. It's not very often that you see people within that spot that I love of my interests, and he's one of them. He's ex-military like me. He is former SEALs, Navy SEALs. I'm former commando. He loves the mysterious, the wacky, the paranormal, and so do I. And so I fucking love watching his videos, and so we're going to do that today. It's a different one. Listen, it's an extra video. I've already put a video up today of military stuff if you want to check that out. This is just to have some fun. I wanted to have some fun, all right? Before we get started, though, let's talk about sponsors. Check out Chug, 10% off, link down below for the best drinking vessel in the world. Christmas is here. Go and buy yourself one. The new version 3 is incredible. Look, here's version 2. Struggle to get your hands in. Metal is glued inside. This one you can get your fist in, and you can take this inside part out and put it in the dishwasher to protect your sustainable wood. Free customization, free bag, 10% off, link down below. Ships to America. Go and do it while you can. Also, last little bit, my business, MrBallen, a healthy, energizing drink using functional mushrooms. I worked really hard on this for nearly 2 years, and it is now out to the general public. If you're in the UK, you can buy it on the website right here. We get mirrored here. And check out the content we're doing. Listen, we're trying to mimic what a lot of these big drink companies are doing, where they take an energy drink and sponsor extreme sports. We're trying to do something similar. We're trying to take this healthy, energizing drink and sponsor outdoor activities. We're talking getting the next generation of kids to disconnect from the online world and reconnect with the real world. Get guys outside in nature so they can work on their mental health, because we've got an absolutely horrific pandemic of young men struggling with mental health. We want to get them outside more, and we're working on it. If you want to check out the content, Instagram and YouTube, if you go to the subscribe button down below, this video will be in collaboration with Drink Morale. Head over to that YouTube channel and see what we're doing. We're doing vlogs, we're doing podcasts. Here on Original Human, we're converting a van. The first episode went up on Wednesday, and we're going to be converting it here on the channel, and then taking that van and traveling around Europe, getting outside, seeing beautiful places, meeting incredible people for the podcast. It's so exciting. And so if you want to be a part of the movement, head to the Drink Morale YouTube channel, head to the Drink Morale Instagram, and go buy yourself some drinks. If you're in America, you can't get the drink just yet, but you can buy the hoodies and the t-shirts. Go and do it. Support the cause. Other than that, are you ready for this? Let's turn subbies on. I'm so excited for this. I freaking love listening to him. He's got to be one of, I think the only other person I think is as good as storytelling as MrBallen is the Fat Electrician. I mean, as I'm aware of, there's obviously people I've probably never seen on YouTube who are probably really good storytellers. But it also makes me wonder, when I was watching him back in the day and he was less than 1 million subscribers, he was a very good storyteller then. And so where has he learned to be such a good storyteller? Is this like something he's just learned naturally through doing it? Is it something he's been taught? Is it something that he's actively researched to get good at? I'd love to know, but he's obviously very, very talented, isn't he?
I have to start today's video with a disclaimer. Don't go to Dudleytown, Connecticut. This is not a prank, it's not a stunt, it's not clickbait, it's the truth. I'm confident that at the end of this video, there are gonna be people that want to go. Don't do it. 1, it's illegal to go to Dudleytown, it's private property. And 2, as you'll see in today's video, there is a reason why people abandoned Dudleytown. It is not a safe place for people. But before we get into the story about Dudleytown, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do, and we upload once a week.
A mysterious town in rural America. This reminds me of, if you haven't watched the TV show called Hellier, by Planet Strange, or Strange Planet, one of the two. They also made another documentary called The Unbinding. Oh my god! If you love the paranormal and the wiki and the wacky, sorry, and the weird, you got to check out Hellier as well. It's such a good show.
So, if that's of interest to you, the next time the like button is playing an intense game of online FIFA, wait until they get the lead and then unplug their Wi-Fi. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story.
Mr. Ball, let's go. It's been so long. So long. Ghost Town.
It was a bright summer day in 1906, and Dr. William C. Clark and his wife Harriet were driving slowly through a beautiful part of northwestern Connecticut called Litchfield County. Litchfield is a rural, very hilly area with lots of winding country roads, and the Clarks were there to try to scout out an area to build their second home. The couple lived full-time in New York City, where Dr. Clark was an oncologist, which is a cancer doctor, and he was also a professor at the Columbia College of Physicians and Surgeons. And while
So obviously a very well-established individual then, let's be honest.
the Clarks' lives were very exciting and fulfilling in the city, they were also very hectic and chaotic, and so the reason they had settled on Litchfield as the place to look for a location for their second home is because it was the total opposite of the city. It was quiet, it was peaceful, it was perfect. And so as this couple from New York City drove along these winding backcountry roads, they eventually reached this beautiful covered wooden bridge, and after they drove across it, they got this view up onto this mountainside off to their right, and high up on this mountain was this huge, shaded, beautiful forest.
I love that they've got actual images in here, so even though his storytelling is so good, it still gives you more context.
And they saw there was a road that appeared to kind of spider off and go into these woods. Now, the couple had no idea what was up there, but it was just so beautiful, and they were immediately so drawn to it that they decided they would go check it out and see if maybe there was a spot for their second home in these woods. And so Dr. Clark took the car and he went up this access road, and very quickly, as they began climbing up this hillside, the road became very bumpy and overgrown. It was pretty obvious that not many cars were driving into these woods, and so before they even reached the tree line, Dr. Clark had to pull the car over and park it on the side of the road, and then he and Harriet got out, and then on foot they continued up towards the forest. And once the couple actually entered the forest, immediately the sunlight faded because the canopy over their heads was so thick, and the air became cool and refreshing. And after walking for only a couple of minutes, the forest, which at first seemed very still and quiet, suddenly became alive. They could hear birds chirping and animals running around and insects buzzing, and then...
Sounds pretty amazing, to be honest with you, doesn't it? I'd love to be able to just buy some land in the forest. This is the only one regret about moving back to the UK from America. Buying land in the UK is close to impossible. In America, it's hard. It's hard these days still in America, but you can do it. In the UK, it's almost impossible to have land, especially forested land. My God, you've got to be a millionaire to get that.
Up ahead, they saw there was this field off to the side of the road that was full of all these wild apple trees growing in all different directions. And as they got closer, they saw there was just a deer right in the middle of the apple trees eating apples directly off the branches. And then, just past all these apple trees, the couple began passing these huge, beautiful patches of roses and lilacs and bright yellow bitter tansy flowers that lined the road. And then before long, the couple was stepping over these babbling brooks, and off in the distance, they could hear the sound of running water like fresh spring water coming down off the mountain. And then, as the sun did begin to poke through the canopy above them, it almost looked like the forest was sparkling, literally. This forest was sitting on a hillside, and the hillside, which was made up of rock, had mica inside of it. And mica is a kind of mineral that when sunlight hits it, it almost looks like it's shimmering. And of course, there were the owls. As Dr. Clark and his wife walked farther and farther into this beautiful forest, they heard more and more owls hooting off in the distance. And to the Clarks, this made the forest feel enchanted. It was like the owls were personally greeting them. By the time
I feel like the wild of America is so much more creepier than the wild of the UK. It's very whimsical here in the UK when you're out in the wild. Like, there's not much that can hurt you. There's no predators. There's no nothing. In fact, I did a whole podcast on this on the Morale channel about how you could go for a walk in the UK and you're not in danger. You can completely switch off. But when I was running in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado and I have my headphones in and I'm just rocking about, there's mountain lions, there's bears, there's all sorts, there's snakes everywhere. There's all sorts of stuff that can harm you. And so you have to be a bit more switched on. And I did a whole podcast about how I believe, even though there's more danger in the wild in America, because it's more real and more wild and the way it's meant to be, it's better for you. Like, it feels more fulfilling. Like, in the UK, the forests are so tamed and domesticated. And yes, you're not going to get hurt, but at the same time, it makes you less connected. Does that make sense? Do people agree with me with that?
The couple had turned around and begun heading back to their car. They had already made up their mind that they were going to build their second home in that forest. And so, after returning to their home in New York, they promptly put in the paperwork to purchase 1,000 acres inside of that Connecticut forest.
As you do.
And that forest had a name. It was called Dark Entry, and it was named that because it looked like from the outside, the forest was basically dark all the time. There was shade cast on it from mountains nearby, and then also the canopy inside of Dark Entry is exceptionally thick. At one time,
I wonder how much that cost them back in the day for 1,000 acres of it. Probably like fucking 10 strawberries and a watermelon or something like that. Couple chicken eggs, and that's it. You can have 1,000 acres. Now it's like, you want 1,000 acres? Okay, you need to be a billionaire. You need to be a billionaire.
There actually had been a town inside of Dark Entry Forest. However, all the people who had lived in that town were now all gone. The only remnants of this town were a couple of crumbling stone walls and a couple of home foundations that were scattered about the Dark Entry forest floor. The Clarks had seen some of these ruins as they walked along this overgrown path through the forest, but they weren't concerned. Instead, they felt like these ruins actually added some charm to the forest. After the land purchase was finalized, Dr. Clark began looking for local builders in Connecticut who could help him build this second home inside of Dark Entry Forest.
Must be nice.
But no matter how much money he offered these local Connecticut builders, they all said no. Now, none of them gave a straight answer to Dr. Clark about why they were turning him down. So Dr. Clark just kind of assumed that, hey, this project is not huge. It's just one house. And the forest is pretty isolated and hard to get to. And so he thought, probably these builders think it's not worth the effort. But Dr. Clark was not discouraged. He decided he would just build the house himself. After all, he was a very handy, competent guy who had grown up on a farm in New Jersey, and so he knew how to build things.
I mean, when I moved to America, I got a job with Steph's mother's partner at the time, and he used to build cabins up at a place called Pleasant Pond in Maine, and I would go up with him and build these cabins with him. And the American houses, the way they're built, they're not that difficult to make. They're really not. Obviously, here in the UK, we don't have as much wood. We do have a lot more like clay and stuff, so we make our buildings out of brick here. Although I think, obviously, over time, the brick buildings are going to last longer. There's a lot more materials for wooden buildings in America, and the way that they're built is really quite simple. Like, building a house is actually really simple over there. And so, yeah, when someone's like, I'm just going to build my house myself, when you hear that as a Brit, you're like, whoa, like, you just build your house yourself? Like, that's quite the job. And yeah, it is quite the job, but it's definitely nowhere near as hard as you think it is.
So for the next several months, Dr. Clark would travel from New York City to Dark Entry Forest every weekend, and he would build this home. First, he cut down this massive swath of hemlock trees on this one flat patch of his land, and then with all this lumber he had cut down, he built his rustic two-story cabin on this flat part of his land. And then nearby on this hilltop, there was a freshwater spring at the top, and so he laid piping from the spring into his cabin so they could have fresh water.
Sounds like a dream.
At the bottom of this nearby hill was this brook, and Dr. Clark loved just standing and watching this brook because inside of it were all these trout that would dart all around. And so Dr. Clark built a swimming pool with beautiful mossy embankments right up against this brook. So
that's the dream, that, innit? That is the dream. Listen, I don't care if the woods are haunted. I don't care if they're haunted. I'd pay for that. This economy. I'll share it with a few entities. You know what I mean?
could sit there and watch the fish. By Thanksgiving of that year, the cabin was done, and so Dr. Clark and his wife Harriet, they stayed at the cabin to celebrate the holiday.
Nice.
And as they were sitting in their swimming pool, watching the trout and listening to the owls hoot off in the distance, they both agreed that this second home was like their little piece of heaven. So every summer from there on out, and every major holiday that they could manage it, the Clarks would travel to their home in Dark Entry Forest, and they would swim and hike and relax, and they'd watch the leaves on the mountainside turn from green to bright yellows and oranges and reds. It was perfect. That is, until 1918. That summer, the couple was in their second home in the forest when Dr. Clark was suddenly called back to New York to attend to a medical emergency. Harriet was very upset at the prospect of suddenly being left alone in this cabin in the middle of the forest by herself for who knows how many days. And so when she dropped her husband off at the nearby train platform, she made him promise that he would come back soon. And he said he would. And then Dr. Clark got on the train, it took off, and Harriet just stood there with her arms crossed, watching it as it chugged along off into the distance.
That's not a vibe, is it? There's something, I mean, it's the stereotypical horror trope of being in the cabin in the woods in America, isn't it? I'm going to tell you a little story. I did mushrooms, magic mushrooms, in Maine when I first moved over there. And the same individual that I worked with making cabins in the woods up at Pleasant Pond, his family also had a cabin. It wasn't at Pleasant Pond, but it was at somewhere else in Maine. And it's like this very rustic cabin. Like, there's a wired phone that barely works. There's no electric. There's no windows. All the windows are actually just like bug netting. So it's like a very rustic cabin. And me, Steph, and a few friends go up there for the night. We're going to go up to the cabin for the night. It's next to this beautiful lake. We can jump in the lake. We do a bit of fishing, have a fire. Oh, couple beers up there. Literally the dream, in my opinion. If I could go and move into the woods, I would. And we went up, and one of the friends was like, I brought mushrooms. And I'd never done it at the time, so I'm like, let's do it. But part of me in my head is like, this is literally the start of a horror film. We're in a cabin in the woods in Maine, taking mushrooms. So we did it. And there was this one particular moment, and I still get full body goosebumps when I think about it, right? I'm in the cabin, and the mushrooms have completely, like, they're on me, right? I'm consumed within the mushrooms. And I look out of the door of the cabin. The door of the cabin is literally just a wooden frame with the bug netting on it. That's it. So you can see right out into the dark. And I swear to God, I've got full body goosebumps just thinking about it now. It still kind of terrifies me. I look straight out this door, and there is like this old woman's face just slowly turning towards me. And I'm so scared. Bear in mind, like, former Royal Marines commando here, do you know what I mean? Lean, mean, fighting machine. I literally couldn't even speak. And Steph notices that I'm like, something's wrong. And she comes over and she's like, you okay? And it snaps me out of it. And I'm like, and she goes, yeah, it's just a bag of pegs. And there was a washing line out of the door with a bag of pegs just hanging on it. And it was that. I had to go out and feel it and make sure that it wasn't an entity. I remember sitting on the dock looking out at the lake, and it's almost as if you could see the curvature of the earth, and the stars were just beautiful. Oh my God. But it is the trope of horror, innit? That some sort of weirdo murderer is going to come and get you in the cabin in the woods, innit?
From his comfortable seat on that train, Dr. Clark had no idea that his wife was about to endure a nightmare while he was gone.
Oh God. Couldn't imagine doing it on your own.
We've all been there. Your guests are on their way over to your house for your big New Year's Eve party, and right as they pull into your driveway, you realize you've overnogged your smoked chicken gallbladder eggnog.
I'm gonna pass the ad.
Shipping. Again, go to HelloFresh.com and use code MrBallen21 for 21 free meals and free shipping. Okay, back to the story.
Here we go.
When the Clarks bought their 1,000 acres in the Dark Entry Forest, they did virtually no research on the forest or the surrounding area. If they had, they very likely would not have purchased that land. You see, the town that used to be inside of the Dark Entry Forest, that was now just ruins that the Clarks saw when they first walked around inside of the forest, was abandoned for a very specific reason. It was cursed. At least that's what the locals say. And in fact, that was the reason why no builders in the area were willing to go with Dr. Clark into the forest to go build his house.
I'd love to know in the comments, do you believe in curses? Do you believe in the paranormal? Do you believe in cryptids and the weird and the wacky? Let me know in the comments.
Because they were too scared to go anywhere near the ruins of this cursed town. This town, which was known as Dudleytown, was first settled sometime in the 1740s. At first, it was just a couple of people and a couple of small structures, but pretty quickly, 30 families had moved in and it was a thriving little town. But as the 1700s came to a close, terrible things began to happen to residents of this town. First, there was the Carter family. They moved to Dudleytown in 1759, and shortly after arriving there, 6 members of their family all died suddenly from cholera. The remaining branch of the Carter family was so grief-stricken from their losses that they left Dudleytown and went to New York, where they resettled. But almost immediately after getting set up there, Native Americans raided their property and massacred them, and the 3 people that survived this massacre were 3 of the kids, and they were all kidnapped and taken away.
Oh
in
my
1792, a Dudley resident named Hollister died suddenly. Now, we don't know if he fell off a roof or if he was murdered. No one really knows. But what we can agree on is that his untimely death happened in the home of a man named Tanner. And Tanner, following Hollister's death, suddenly just began obsessively talking about these strange creatures he was seeing out in the woods at night, kind of roaming around the Dark Entry Forest.
That's definitely giving me Hellier vibes. If you don't know Hellier, it's a documentary series here on YouTube by this couple that do the traveling paranormal museum thing. And the premise is that one of the guy at the couple, Greg, I think his name is, he gets an email from a guy saying that there are weird goblins outside of his house and they're terrorizing him. And it goes down this insane rabbit hole and it is so good. Apparently they're making season 3. Let me know if you've watched Hellier in the comments, because if you like this, you would love Hellier.
And he talked about it all the time and nobody listened to him. And eventually Tanner went insane and his daughter had to care for him for the rest of his life. And while Tanner was slowly losing his mind, his next door neighbor named Abel also began reporting that he was seeing weird creatures roaming around the tree line all around the town. As Abel continued to report seeing these strange creatures lurking in the shadows, he too slowly went mad and had to be cared for until his death. In the early 1800s, a famous Revolutionary War hero, General Herman Swift, who lived in Dudleytown, lost his mind shortly after his wife was struck by lightning. And then in 1813, an unknown epidemic rolled through Dudleytown and killed many of its residents. After that, more and more
It's not got good credentials, this land, has it? Oh my God. Imagine buying land and then finding all this out. Now, personally, because I love the weird and wacky and paranormal, mysterious and occult, all that weird stuff fascinates me. I'd just set up cameras everywhere and just be like, we're going to figure this out. We're going to film it. We're going to see what's going on. I'd love to do that.
Residents of Dudleytown either died suddenly or died mysteriously, and also more and more residents began coming forward with stories about having seen these strange, shadowy creatures moving around the tree line at night. By about 1900, all the Dudleytown residents had either died or simply just left, abandoning their homes, except for one family, the Brophies. But in quick succession, the Brophy family's sheep all died, then the mother died of tuberculosis, then the 2 sons were accused of theft in a nearby town, and then they just disappeared, leaving one person, John Brophy, the father. But the Brophy family home burned to the ground, and so John, who was overcome with grief, just wandered off into the forest and was never heard from again. At that point, Dudleytown officially became a ghost town. No one lived there. And it was at that point, in 1906, when Dr. Clark and Harriet had their beautiful summer's day walk through the forest and discovered where they wanted to build their second home. So, fast forward back to 1918, and Dr. Clark, he's on his medical emergency leave to New York. It winds up being very quick. He's back on a train within 36 hours, and he pulls into the station right near Dark
what's
Entry
happened to
Forest,
the wife?
and he's expecting to see Harriet waiting on the platform for him. But when the train rolled into the station, she wasn't there. Now, Dr. Clark was not a superstitious person, but for some reason, when he didn't see his wife there, he just felt like something was off. There's no reason she wouldn't have come out here to greet him.
Yeah.
I mean, she was worried about being all alone in the cabin, and she knew he was going to be arriving at that moment. And so, feeling a little bit panicked, Dr. Clark left the train station and on foot made his way over to the Dark Entry Forest.
You have to remember as well, this is before like phones, like mobile phones and stuff like that. Like this was a time where, you know, it was much harder to track someone down if you needed to get a hold of them, you know? Imagine that anxiety. Where is she? Oh my God, where is she? No. But like having to go in the woods and being like, oh my God, I hope she's okay.
And when he got there and began walking on that overgrown road path that led to his house, immediately, as soon as he was within the shade of the trees, he began hearing these owls hooting very loudly off in the distance. Now, normally, the sound of these owls hooting made him feel welcome, but this time he felt scared. He felt like something was wrong up ahead. And so he began jogging through the forest, and it's very dark, and all he can hear is the sound of these owls, and it's...
I am very much a believer in intuition, and that stems from the military, actually, and the moments where, even in training, you're in a training exercise, and all the lads you're just patrolling, and nothing changes, but you all just seem to have a feeling that you're going to come into contact in any moment. Like, that's a true thing that happens. And I believe that there are some sort of intuition that people feel when something's off. And it can't really be put into words, and you can't really describe what it is that's making you feel it, but you feel it. We've all experienced it.
Getting louder and louder and louder, and then finally he reaches the clearing where his property is. And at this point, it's a cacophony of owls hooting practically right on top of him, and he looks up towards his house up on this hill, and he sees the front door is slightly open. And so now, with his heart racing, wondering what's going on with his wife, Dr. Clark runs up to his front porch, he gets to the door, and he flings it open the rest of the way, and then right before he stepped into his house, this sudden high-pitched noise began up on the second floor inside of his house. And it was so startling to Dr. Clark that he just froze where he was. And so suddenly it's so loud from the owls all around him and the woods behind him and whatever this noise is that he just stood there unsure what to do. And so as he's sitting there getting the courage up to go investigate his house, he realizes what this high-pitched noise is. It's the sound of maniacal, insane laughter coming from the second floor. Sensing his wife had to be in danger, the doctor charged up the nearby steps up to the second floor, and he could tell this laughter, this high-pitched laughter, was coming from the master bedroom. And so he ran down the short hallway, he got in front of the closed door that led into the master bedroom, he slowly opened it up, and there, in the back corner of his room, was his wife. She was on the ground, rolled up in a ball, facing the door. Her hands were clenched in fists, her eyes were open and unblinking, and her mouth was open wider than was humanly possible. And as he's staring at his wife, wondering what's going on, he realizes this insane high-pitched laughter is coming from his wife. But it doesn't even look like it's coming out of her. Her chest is just heaving, her mouth is staying open, and the laughter is just coming out of her. And so the doctor just stood there watching his wife, who's staring directly at his eyes. And finally, he just got so scared, he turned and he ran.
Whoa.
During Dr. Clark's 36 hours he was away in New York, something happened to his wife. We don't know what it was, but it caused her to lose her mind. The only thing she would talk about was the strange creatures she saw out in the forest. By some accounts,
so creepy!
Harriet spent the rest of her life in a mental asylum. By other accounts, she went back with Dr. Clark to New York, where she took her life. Today, Dudleytown is not only still abandoned, but it is also illegal to visit. However, people do still sneak into Dudleytown and walk around the ruins, and many of them have reported feeling these pockets of cold air where there shouldn't be cold air, and also some others have said as they've been walking, they've felt phantom hands slap them and push them. Some
That's so creepy. Do you believe it? Do you believe it? Part of me's like, surely not. Surely not. But still, the world is more mysterious and weird than we can ever imagine. That's the truth of it, isn't it?
have said they've taken photographs inside of the Dark Entry Forest near Dudleytown, and they've captured strange, shadowy figures that they couldn't see with their naked eye. The famous paranormal couple, Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Okay, these two toxic individuals. Do you know he, like, had some sort of, like, underage girl that he kept in his house, like, as some sort of slave thing? Do you know about this shit? And they still made movies about them? These two are horrible individuals.
Shot a special series in the 1970s inside of the Dark Entry Forest, and they declared the area around Dudleytown was demonically possessed.
Interesting.
So that's going to do it. If you got something
Great
out of this
video
episode and you haven't done this already, the next time the like button is playing an intense game of online FIFA, wait until they take the lead and then unplug the Wi-Fi. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads.
Amazing.
We have a podcast called the MrBallen Podcast that puts out brand new exclusive stories on Monday mornings, and on Thursday mornings we put out the remastered audio of our best YouTube videos. Again, the podcast is called the MrBallen Podcast, and it is available exclusively on Amazon Music. Consider
God, he's got foundation and everything now. Oh my God.
Foundation, and it provides support to victims of violent crime as well as their families. Monthly donors to the MrBallen Foundation Honor Them Society will receive free gifts and exclusive invites to special live events.
That's incredible.
Go to MrBallen.Foundation and click on Get Involved to join the Honor Them Society today. We have two
Incredible. I'm going to leave it there, the video. I will leave a link down below to the original video. Make sure you go over there, give it some love. MrBallen's fantastic. Do you believe it? Do you believe it? I want to believe. I want it to be weird. I want to believe. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I haven't watched one of his videos in so long. It's nice to watch it again. I'm really, really excited. Maybe I'll do some more in the future. Check out Chug, 10% off, link down below. And then also go check out Morale. I've worked really hard on it. It would mean the world to me if you checked out at least the content over on Drink Morale. It will be a collab. If you click the subscribe button down below, both channels will come up and you'll be able to go and check it out. Other than that, I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.